Hello and welcome to Premiere Scene. I'm Nicola Johnston and we're here at the magnificent Empire Cinema for Film 4's FrightFest, and we're about to talk to the cast and crew of the epic Hammer of the Gods.
There's a man who's worthy to wear the crown. Find your brother, who will lead us to victory.
He hasn't been seen for years.
What makes you think he'd come back?
It's the king's wish.
You've worked on some huge productions, and now you find yourself involved with a first-time director on quite a low-budget project.
Yeah.
What was it about this project that attracted you?
But don't forget, I was a first-time lead actor in this as well, so me and Farron got on very well from the start. I think I met Farron ahead of time and we got on very well. It was basically, from that, I became very interested in the project, regardless of how the script turned out.
The character's quite interesting, though. There's conflict there from the beginning.
Yeah, and that's something that was brought in the later drafts. But yeah, absolutely. Steinar is he's lucky because he gets away with it because he's a prince. He has these differing views, almost a sort of enlightened perspective on life, considering the context of what Vikings were all about in those days. And that gets him in a lot of trouble. But luckily he's a prince and he has these band of brothers, Mikey over here, and a couple others, Clive and Guy. And so, he gets to have a lot of fun, but pursuing what he knows is right, which is a very sort of advanced view on humanity.
Historically, did you do research?
Yeah, there's not actually that much about Vikings, you believe it or not. Everyone's got their ideas about it. I've watched all the movies. Apparently the most historically correct one is Vikings, which is that, I think it's Kurt Douglas movie. Kurt Douglas, it's like way old. It's like 64 or something. That was the most accurate representation. So, listen, we had a short time to get on this. It was a low budget. I had a mohawk. It's fun. It's lock, stock, and two smoking axes, and that's the people who understand that will love this movie.
Do you think he's just going to rule the people that banished him?
Well, the film looks epic, and it's dealing with some massive themes like betrayal and survival.
Yeah.
What were some of the challenges that you faced on this shoot?
I think some of the challenges, believe it or not, one of the challenges, not in a special, spooky, spiritual actory sense, was just simply how hot it was. I know it's quite shocking, but Wales is renowned for being, people didn't realise they could take their cagoule off until they were 14, and as it happened, it was a heat wave there. And so when you're hacking up hillsides, and you'll see there's a certain amount of questing and shots of us walking as we're on our journey, and that's just a fraction of what we actually did. Having to go back up a hill and down and up a hill when it's like 30 degrees, wearing a bearskin over you, and also not real shoes. Actually wearing, wraparound bits of leather, authentic gear, was quite shocking.
It was hot.
Very physical, yeah.
I think for me, the kind of the challenge of it was bringing this kind of the way that they used to talk, and especially the way my character in particular was quite horrible in the way that some of the things that he says. And I think with Farron, who's a fantastic director, Farron Blackburn, it was his first feature, and I think he allowed us to sort of play the truth with it and make sure that we didn't send it up too much. And he was very straight with us. If he felt it became a bit too over the top, or it became a bit too, he didn't believe us. It was about believing the real characters, I think, and that was what the challenge was for me, not making it too silly,
Finding the truth moment to moment. So were you able to improvise then on set?
Well, the script is the script, but when it came to what happens is that when you get into a rehearsal for the take and you're stood there and you're showing it and you're working out the blocking of it, if someone has got a notion, they might just blend it in, not words necessarily, but just a reaction or something like that. And it's Darren's job to go shopping and pick out what he liked about that. And so, yeah, there was input in that kind of a sense. And Darren was extremely open to any ideas and flexible for that kind of stuff. But to be honest, he'd got the storyboard in his head. And we're talking about a blasted heath. Everywhere it's just an extraordinary vista of emptiness and it's just ancient. It's as it was then. And so if you're being too busy up the front of it, that doesn't necessarily work. And after all, we're not men of words, we're men of action. Yeah.
I was going to ask about the historical side of it. Did you research historically?
Well, yeah, I'm fascinated by that era anyway, and I'm sure most people are when they start to get a handle on it. We're talking about the thing that has formed our country, so our nation, Great Britain, and those guys that came in and lent a sort of balance to us as we were trying to build this heavy god-bothering kind of Saxon stuff. And so, yeah, I'm fascinated by it. My ancestry goes back to there. The Vikings went through Russia, and that's where my mob were.
And I'm from the northeast myself, from Hull, and that's very heavily influenced by, you know, all the names of all the towns around there are very influenced by kind of Scandinavian, and my colourings, and, you know, I'm very pale and I don't go very particularly brown in the sun. So I think it's fascinating. Oh yeah, and it was like that on set as well. You know, we had to make sure we had umbrellas, and it was all very kind of camp and there was no standing around acting hard. It was all quite camp and showbiz at times, wasn't it?
Dark times go for dark deeds. You're wrong. They call for light.